on Bukayo Saka, obviously we're not going to pick up on a conversation that went on yesterday between two very, very good friends of the football terrace, but there has been a lot of disrespect towards Bukayo Saka in the last few months, and I think that was sort of magnified and taken to an even bigger extreme on Saturday with some of the headlines, disgraceful headlines from the mainstream media, things like black ice being written, his face being on the back of every single newspaper criticizing England's defeat when he wasn't the starter. He barely featured. Multiple other players had worse games. We've seen Mainoo attacked at the same time, criticized for a position that he didn't even play, which I was just staggered to see him criticized for playing a 6 role when he was clearly playing in an 8. But of course, when it comes to Saka, this is in a season where he's consistently compared to everybody. He's ripped into by a lot of people. And I'm at a point, and I'm going to make this statement, but I want to throw it out to you guys. I feel like the Bukayo Saka hate and disrespect has almost become like an illness for people. If a player in somebody else's club's doing well, the first person they attack with it is Saka. You know, if he does have a bad game, he's attacked. You've got mainstream media, professional pundits now mocking him and sort of taking YouTube and Twitter banter and using it as real analysis. What you always get in these situations, and it's why I always felt Raheem Sterling was attacked. One of the reasons is because for some reason he got booed at every stadium for wanting to win trophies. And when he left Liverpool, went to Man City, everybody booed him for that. And it makes them a target for some of the scumbag media outlets in this country. From your point of view, I'm going to go to Henry first as a Spurs fan. Do you feel like the way Saka's being treated by fans and by the media is gone well over the top now, to put it mildly?
Yeah, it's an obsession. Like I've cussed Limp Bizkit a few times because I think he's lipped off when he hasn't been injured or whatever. But the way the media have reacted to him playing 20 minutes, wasn't even our worst player. Let's just get it as sad as it is. We were absolutely terrible collectively as a side against one of the worst nations in Europe. Their goalkeeper's not even a professional player, or wasn't about 3 years ago. But because Saka is star boy, and because the media clearly have got some, I'm not going to get into the politics side of it, but everyone gets what I'm saying. It's absolutely disgusting. And it's like, Saka could do 10 things, do 9 things right and 1 thing wrong, but that 1 thing overrules the other 9 things he's just done brilliantly. And it was the same with Raheem Sterling. It was the same with Sancho. It's the same with Rashford. But if Harry Kane, I love Harry Kane more than anyone, he will never get the same level of grilling from the media. No chance. Like Saka missed a penalty against Italy. Kane missed a penalty against France. I don't hear anyone bringing up that penalty against France anymore. And that was in a quarterfinal of a World Cup. He basically put it into the next postcode, straight over the bar. But people just get on with it. It's like, look, Bukayo Saka is. I don't think he's world class yet, but I think he's well on his way, and he's a top quality player. But this is just absolutely ridiculous. It's an obsession, and like you said, it is an illness. Like Vinny Jr. in Spain gets a very similar treatment, and that guy is out and out world class. And been world class for 3 years. He's got 2 Champions League final goals. But the way he's treated by the Spanish media is absolutely ridiculous. Like,
I'd say, yeah, Henry, on the media side of things, we all know, all of us sitting here, that there's
everyone knows.
We don't need to speak on that side of it. But I think on the footballing side, the reason why it gets a lot of scrutiny is because the Arsenal fans do overrate him a little bit. I think that's where the conversation stems from. I think
but they're naturally going to, because they're Arsenal fans.
Yeah, that's my point here. Yeah, so forget about the media. We don't need to talk about the headlines, and that's disgusting. Rashford, all that stuff. We already know. We highlight it. It's poor. But in terms of the footballing side, going away from that, I think the reason why, naturally, if you gas up a player, people have the same energy against him. So Cole Palmer, for example, has been gassed up this season. If he flops, Terry, everyone's going to be mocking him. And there's obviously a degree. Mock his footballing acumen. Oh, he's not good at this. You can laugh at him. But when you go past that, that's where the line is. You're passing the line. So that's all it is. People rate him internally. But if you're a rival, you're not going to say that, right? You're going to try and put him down. He's a limper. But I think it does stem from the fact that Arsenal fans do overrate him a lot. Because you do hear people call him world class, and he's definitely not world class.
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with the game. It literally had nothing to do with the game.
The thing is with what you just said, though, about him being overrated by Arsenal fans, of course, there's players at every club that are overrated by their fans football is listen. It's an opinion based. It's an opinion based thing. You can have an opinion. I'll think a player's better than Terry will think. Terry will think a player's better than I think. So that happens. Of course, you have them Twitter trolls that over exaggerate it, but the fact is, the obsession comes from everyone says we overrate him, but then as soon as someone's really good, rivals are like, oh, but he's better than Saka, he's better than Saka, he's better than Saka, which either means it underlines in their head that they actually really rate Saka and hate that we have him, or it's that they know that they get clicks and they get the reaction from Arsenal fans. The stuff for the media is disgraceful. Yeah, the stuff for the media is disgraceful because these same media outlets try to tarnish content creators on YouTube and stuff and say they're unprofessional. And I'm watching people on live TV talking about he's going to limp and that, and not putting him in their team. He's going to limp. You can't do that and then try and cuss down people that are sitting in their rooms or their offices talking about it online and saying we're wrong. These media outlets, the papers, what they done to Saka, that's it. He's the scapegoat now. It is it. That it is this new Sterling. They've identified. We now know that, and this won't end unless people high up in the industry itself step up and start talking about it, because that's just how it's going to be. And you're starting to see it with Kobe Mainoo from Man United. You're starting to see it now where he's getting and Man United fans. Yeah, I'm not even going to ever say nothing about Mainoo because I know what it's like. But all the Man United fans that was getting onto Saka, strap yourself right in, mate, because this is exactly what you're going to get from all the rival fans now.
And he just scored in the FA Cup final at 19. Like
so, he was the player of the tournament.
But that's what's so true about. And this is the thing, right? Sometimes there's a reason to criticize people. So if in quarterfinals of the Euros, Saka's missed 2 open goals and then he stupidly stamps on someone's back, aggression, gets himself sent off, we go out, he should be criticized at that moment. If he's playing badly for Arsenal and he's seen out in nightclubs, he's seen stumbling home at 4 o'clock in the morning when he's got training the next day, criticize him. Because listen, in normal life, if you're struggling at work and you're out getting drunk on a work night, you'll get criticized. I did that as a youngster once. I was struggling at work and I remember coming home really late one night drunk, and my dad absolutely blasted me saying, how are you going to improve at work when you're going out and getting drunk midweek, right? There's accountability. But Saka hasn't done anything wrong. That's the element for me. And even what Ches is saying, Arsenal fans hype him up. Cool. Why abuse Saka? This is where, for me, it goes too far. I was very critical earlier on this season, and Staffy will remember when everything went on with Jadon Sancho, because I didn't like how he behaved. By the way, I also criticized what Ten Hag did. But it didn't take me very long to turn around and go, but aside from that, the leaks that Man United were putting out about Jadon Sancho, he then becomes a target. And I stood up for him. And why would I not? Because for me, it's like, whoa, you don't need to be leaking this and he's bad at that and he didn't do this and you're making him like degrading him by letting the world know that he's eating lunch in his car and all this sort of stuff. I look at it and just go, it's repulsive. It doesn't matter what he has or hasn't done on the pitch or the argument he's had with Ten Hag. You're now degrading him. You're now treating him like a piece of shit, and he isn't one. And
can I add on that point? Because people clearly didn't listen to what I said, man. They didn't listen to what I said. I never once said or justifying any sort of abhorrent attacks, racism, rudeness, personal life, what Terry was saying about his driving home, what car he drives, how his family looks like. I said, footballing, you can criticize him, but don't go past that line.
No, so I understand. So I understand what you're saying, but there also becomes a point where it becomes a pile-on. So even if it's football related, it's a case of you see what Saka's gone through, and just if we just isolate it to this small period in the last couple of weeks, there's no need, even if he has a bad game, to go right. And I get the desire, is it? Because if a Liverpool player has a bad game for England, there's sometimes I'm going to go in now. It's a chance to go in on Gerrard. It's a chance to go in on Owen or whoever it is. And we've all done that. But with the way social media is, and the fact we know it beams straight into the eyes of these players because they see it, I feel like you come to a point where you're like, I just don't see what is the mileage in going at this player when he's being targeted by the media, targeted by scumbags online. I feel like there's a time where you say, okay, enough, even if he's had a bad game or even if he's done something wrong, like, do the means justify the ends? And I just sometimes feel that we go through, and when it's Saka, he hasn't done anything wrong. Since he's been an England and an Arsenal player, overall, he's been superb.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. Bar Harry Kane, who do you think is the highest goal scorer in this English team?
It's Saka.
There you go. He's technically, I wouldn't say technical, sorry. Statistically, he's your second best player in this team. Rashford now is gone. He was the third highest. And funny enough, Maguire was fourth. Okay. So you actually lack a lot of goals in this team. You lack a lot of experience. In the past 2-3 years, Saka has been one of your best players. But you've lacked a manager for 8 years, so there's no point of mentioning that. But in terms of the players that exist, I'm not Saka's biggest fan because I do think Arsenal fans overrate him. But I also could sit here and say, okay, now he's getting slated for, as Terry said, they're just piling up. He's not that bad of a player to the point that he played 25 minutes and his team lost. I don't even think he was on the pitch when they conceded that goal. And then they're putting him on the front cover of everything. To me, that's insane. It's absolutely insane. If anyone deserved to be on that front cover, was Southgate. It wasn't any of the players. But the fact that they put Saka, and we remember what happened to him when they lost that Euros, okay? And he was one of their best players in that Euros. I don't even remember how old he was, but I'm pretty sure he was a teenager at the time.
Yeah,
yes, he missed the penalty. Fair enough, he got criticized for that. But the racism that he received at that time, and now they're already piling up on him again, is like this English media wants to build them up so high so they can tear him down the minute this English team loses. And sorry, guys, but listen, I know a lot of you guys are English here, but I can't wait for you guys to lose. I actually can't wait for you guys to lose this Euro because I can't stand your media. The way your media just goes at these players, especially the ones with a certain demographic, I can't fucking stand it.
Staffy, saying that.
Go on.
Staffy, sorry, just on that, I support Italy and England when I watch the Euros or the World Cup. I like them both. I want both of them to do well. When they play each other, I'm sort of on the fence, right? But I generally watch and see the differences between the two teams. And I believe that the media is one of the reasons that England don't really ever win anything, mate. Because I agree with you. I agree with you. The media is a reason that the players don't have the same love to play for England as when I watch the Italian players play for Italy. Because it doesn't matter what these players. You can play for Juve, you can play for Napoli, you can play for AC Milan. You all get treated good.
It's a different passion level.
Giuseppe, I grew up in Egypt during that time where Egypt went and won the AFCON 3 times in a row. When I tell you, and there's some nasty rivalries in Egyptian football. If anyone who watches Egyptian football will tell you that. Everything was put to the side. When the national team played before the tournament, I'm telling you, the vibes were immaculate. It was the best vibes I've ever experienced as a football fan. You would literally see highlights and they would play like there's like this songs. You know how you guys have some songs that are dedicated to the national team and football and stuff like France did with the World Cup winning team? We had Egyptian songs like that. And they would just play on repeat for a whole week. And all you could see on TV is just highlights of the tournament before and the tournament before and the tournament before. There was always a unity going into any major tournament. The fact that the the fact that the Euros is on Friday and we're sitting here talking about some players being scapegoated for playing 25 minutes, it just shows me really why some of these players don't go in and they don't win anything.
Yeah, the media is the frustrating thing for me is I understand why people that are not English don't want England to win, and a lot of it is based on how the media behaves, and the painful element is like when Rashford and Saka and Sancho suffered what they did at the previous Euros. The vast majority of Brits and English people were on their side, and you saw that by the mural that was made by Rashford and the people that turned up and the wide variety, the demographic of Manchester that stood behind him. So it is always like annoying for me to see people dislike every English person because of an English newspaper. I understand why, because it's what you see and what you hear, and it's a painful one. I just wish we were a little bit. There's time to criticize. And there's time not to. If you guys watched the Beckham documentary, I remember being a kid and people like putting the paper under my nose when the hanging effigy outside a building. It was a few years later. It turned out the newspaper that took that picture supplied it to the pub to hang up. So the pub, the pub probably put it up because they thought, a bit of a laugh. But not one England fan thought, let's make an effigy of Beckham and hang it. The newspapers said, let's make an effigy, let's get a pub to hang it, and then we take a picture of it. And that then makes people this, you know, it's quite easy to convince drunk people in the pub to do stupid things. You know what I mean? I've had a few drinks as an example, and the whole thing is crazy toxic. And I do get what Ches is saying, that there is a place and a time for criticism, but then I think you have to also look at times where there's a pylon or be balanced. You know, and there's a few people saying, Terry, you criticize Trent. I've criticized Trent's defending, but I've also spoken about as a playmaker, he's maybe the best right back I've ever seen. Whenever he plays well, I praise him. He's passing, I praise. Some of his goals I've praised. There's balance to that breakdown. Now, as Liverpool fans, you probably hang on to the criticism more than you do anything else. But I've never seen anything like I've seen with, well, I have seen it before, but the level of criticism I see towards Saka is one of the worst I've ever seen in recent years.